feeling like I'm academics. Can't ride no.
I just want to tell y'all in advance of us covering this case and this trial, we were trying to be fair, okay? I want to let everybody know, I know, even though I don't believe the war in Chirac is the biggest thing I've ever done in my career, it is definitely one of the most important things, 100%. I know. I can't cover this trial being a Durk defense squad. Also, for anyone who has the opinion, whether it's me, Trap Lil Ross, or anyone else, to say, oh, what y'all are doing is some police shit. The police already did their shit. The police, everything we're getting info from now is not even from the streets. The streets usually tell us and snitch and self-snitch. The police already did their work. What all we're doing is reading, listening, and reporting. Okay? So I want everyone to know there is no new info. Obviously, there's like some folklore stories in relation to the case that will be conveyed. But the majority of what you're hearing is going to be what the police already allege. Whether they have charged those crimes or not, they have a whole theory about what they claim Durk was or Durk did. Again, when we repeat, or when I repeat, let me speak directly to myself. When I directly repeat what's being alleged, please don't think that I switched up on Durk. Another thing, as much as I love Durk, shout out to Duty Low, shout out to DJ Ben. DJ Ben hit me yesterday. Vance, I'm gonna hit you back. I'm not OTF, and I'm also just not a defense lawyer for them. Okay, so I'm gonna try to be as fair as possible. I want to be as optimistic as possible. Yes, I'm a huge Durk fan. I don't want to see him go to jail. By the way, this is unprecedented territory. We've seen rappers get convicted and sent to jail for murders or, whatever. We saw what happened with TK. I can't tell the last rapper who went to jail like for life or something like that. Durk is clearly the biggest rapper who's facing life. And make no mistake about it, Thug beat his case, or we call it beat his case, but he took a plea. That case was bullshit. It was out of Fulton County. Young boy was facing a couple gun charges, but he was never facing life. 6ix9ine was facing potentially like what would amount to be life, like 40 years, but he cooperated. This is the first time we're going to see all the resources, all the love, all the popularity that Durk has. And with all due respect to YNW Melly, he's never been convicted. Even now, he got a mistrial in the first case. This is the first time we could see a rapper in his prime, arguably top 10 rapper in the game, potentially go down and get sentenced to life in prison. Make no mistake about it. If Durk gets found guilty of murder for hire, there is no other wiggle room other than life imprisonment. It's a done deal. It's a life or death situation. The government did not elect for the death penalty here, and that's not going to be on the table, so it's just automatic life that Durk would face if he got convicted for that. He has another trial that's pending. Again, I say all this before we get into the weeds of all this stuff. You're going to hear a lot of things. You're going to hear a lot of things, and I want to remind you guys, just like how we covered the Tory trial and other things, despite my disposition, I like, and I'll tell you my biases, I like Durk, and whether I'm saying something that you might think is not for Durk, it's not about what you know, it's about what you can prove. We're in court now, okay? It's not about a YouTube video, it's not about a YouTuber, it's not about what you know, it's about what you could prove. It's not about what you see on Reddit, Trap Lil Ross, me, Trenches News, King Yellow, or whoever you watch when you're tuned into Chicago. It's about what you could prove. So right now it's put up or shut up time, and I hope I could do the best service of giving you guys all the pertinent details of what's in the case. This particular trial is a federal trial. It's happening in LA. Federal trials are not broadcasted anywhere. There's no cameras in federal court. Never has been, never will be. Okay, so this is not like the Keefe D trial. It's not like the ASAP Rocky trial. This is not like, even though there was no cameras in the Tory trial, it's explicitly illegal. And from what I've been told, when you walk in a court, they do it like they do these comedy shows now. You got to put your phone in a pouch. It is locked, and you only could unlock that pouch with your phone. You keep the pouch. You can only unlock it when you're walking out of court. Maybe certain outlets could live tweet within the courtroom, but no one could film. No one could audio record, and there could be no pictures taken. Everyone who is going to be going to court has to respect these things. And here's the thing, even though I'm going to, I plan to show up at some point, even I have to move a little bit different than I moved in the Diddy trial because I was never going to the Diddy trial. So the Diddy trial was never going there, but they would have probably tried to sanction me because I was calling people their real names instead of Jane Doe. So you have to adhere, if you're going to court, by these rules that the court is enforcing. Whether it's like, if for whatever example, I don't think they're going to be, even though it's protected witness, I think they're kind of going to be liberal to some point with saying OTF Jam's name or OTF Vonnie. Before, in like a federal case I was with Diddy, Daphne Joy's never named. She's Jane Doe. And if you reported outside even of court and called her Daphne Joy, they would take your pass away from being in court. So I'm going to try to play it safe a little bit, you know, with the expectation that I'll probably want to be in court at some point. But we're not going to let that compromise how we cover the case, okay? All right. I think that's about it. They went through the jury selection. Jury selection was a doozy. I'll give you a quick update on how that went. By the way, we have videos of people who are there. There's so many great journalists. And I do want to make this point. As last week I started out like my stream and everyone was talking about, oh, I calls out journalists. Yeah, I called out these old antiquated people who are in media who get the journalist title. Let me tell you this, whether it's Armand Wiggins, whether it's, to me, even Milagro Cooper, whether it's Trap Lord Ross, whether it's any of these independent journalists who go to LA and they're going to sit there through the trial, they're taking notes on the breaks, and by the way, even Attorney Jasmine, even though apparently she's an attorney, you guys are the journalists that I commend. And again, obviously this is only one scope of hip-hop. Hip-hop dealing with, you know, crime is only one scope. But I want to give you guys all the credit. You guys are amazing, to me, journalists, okay? You guys are the eyes and ears of people that can't be there in the positions that people want to know about. That's what, to me, journalism is. While everyone last week was hung up on this idea of, oh, ACT calls out the journalists, no one actually, I really want to reroute that discussion on people who's doing the work. I constantly said, do the work. So Trap Lord Ross, shout out to you. Who else is there? There's a bunch of other, you know, great journalists. I think there's a guy, what's his name? Daquanit. Like, I'm going to play these guys' videos. So I'm giving them credit. No shots to no one, because we're going to have to hear every single side of this because we're not in court. Okay. Perfect. So let's start out. I think I did a good job, and we will constantly retouch. If you're watching and saying, well, if we're not in court, how do we cover the case? So we get updates about like every 2 to 3 hours. It's going to be said what's said, who was on the stand. Pretty much a good breakdown from 4 to 5 people is going to tell you what's Durk's demeanor, what did India walk out of court. We'll get all of that. But in between time, and this is what I call covering a trial, we're going to, everything that's mentioned in court, we're going to go do our due diligence, find the facts on it, find the exhibits that they're probably using. We've seen that they're using over 300 exhibits, including even my interview. We're going to be doing that deep dive that you guys clearly know when you come to, you know, one of my streams and we're doing this type of content we're going to get to. All right. Without further ado, let me just give you a short overview without playing one of these guys' videos of how jury selection was. Shout out to Attorney Jasmine. I got this information from her. It was about 80 people that were summoned. I've learned something interesting by talking to Trap Lord Ross. Apparently, the way how jury selection works, so they have what's called a voir dire. And that's like a questionnaire that's basically meant to figure out if that person who was summoned, right? Jury duty is actually part of everybody's like obligation. If you were summoned to do jury duty, you answer a questionnaire and then you're kind of like questioned afterwards by like the counsel of the AUSA and clearly the counsel of the defense team. If for whatever reason there's a red flag, they could remove you. But one thing I did not know, it's not of 80 people, they essentially just say, let's find the best 12. Essentially, they summons 80 people, they assign them random numbers. And what's the thing is, as they go through the selection, it's assumed that the first 12, right, is 12 plus 4, so there's 4 alternates. So the first 16, they're the jurors. However, they vet them throughout the day, and if you are eliminated, they bring in juror number 17, and they see if that person could fit in, and they bring it. So you get what I'm saying? So essentially, if you were if you showed up to this jury selection and you were juror number 80, potentially, you didn't even really get a chance to be seated because they already seated the jury with, whatever they had. From what I heard, they did go through all 80, but it's important to know how they select the jury. It's not, let's pick the best 12. This is what was told to me, at least in this particular case. It's not the best 12 out of 80. It's, they get random numbers, and it's assumed unless someone says, like, for example, there was a juror who said, hey, listen, I ain't gonna lie to you, Durk and his homies, they look guilty. That's what guilty niggas look like. They look like they do stuff. Obviously, that was, by the way, it was a white guy who said it. That was incredibly prejudicial. That was incredibly stereotypical and also incredibly racist. The judge even admitted that. That person later got disqualified. Now, did that person really believe that? Or maybe that person, because there's other people that said, hey, listen, I ain't gonna lie to you. I got to go start school back in a bit. School usually starts in September. They had to, not only both counsels had to agree on who to keep, but the judge as well could dismiss people to be like, okay, you're not going to be a fair and impartial person. So I heard it was 5 people of color and 75 people not of color. Now, it doesn't mean 75 white people. But when we talk about people of color, let's just say we're talking about niggas. It's 5 black people. So I'm pretty sure there's some Hispanics. If you look at the Southern California area, it's riddled with Hispanics. So I would imagine if they're summoning a jury of, his peers, it's not about him being from Chicago. It's about where the crime was committed, which was Southern California. So the juror pool is going to match what is the demographic of that area. It's going to be Hispanic. It's going to be white, of course, right? But of course, there was only like 5 black people. Don't know, and I'm pretty sure we'll figure it out, and I'll give you an update as soon as I know. Did any African Americans, and I would imagine that would be a big deal, did any African Americans make the final panel? By the way, here's the thing too. We saw it in the Diddy case where they quoted and cited an old case that because there was a systematic way to eliminate most of the black people that could have been on Diddy's jury, they wanted a mistrial. It wasn't granted, but there was case law that matched that if the prosecutors go through a way to try to eliminate anyone that could match the defendant's phenotype, racial background in any type of way, that would be a way to prejudice the trial, right? Now, obviously, certain things, if someone says, yo, I'm a Schmirk fan, you can be black, and you can say, I'm a Schmirk fan, man, it's OTF for life. They're not going to put you on there, okay? Anyway, so they seated a jury on Friday. Opening statements was to start today, and it did. They had a few little issues, and I'll play the videos of the people who are there in a second, but they had a few little issues. For example, and I asked about this when I was thinking about going. I asked Trap Lord, I said, Trap, if I come in there, how much like certainty that I'm going to have a in-court seat? Because I know, as you know, remember they reported back in the day, they said, oh, well, there was a hearing and only India showed up. Well, India wasn't at all of the pretrial things. But you think India was going to be there this morning, first day of trial? Of course she was. There's cameras capturing her coming into court. A lot of people, the families of Lil Pop is in the court. There's so many people, and from what he told me, he said, yeah, it's getting a little bit tight, but there's still a little bit of room. Shout to Trap Lord. He actually applied for months ago, like this journalist type of thing, and that's another thing about journalism. The sheriff approved his press pass, so like he gets preferential treatment. So shout out to him. But for everybody else, apparently they're complaining today because there isn't enough room in the courtroom and there wasn't an overflow room. Keep in mind, when it came to the Diddy case, there were 2 to 3 overflow rooms. So there's a main courtroom, and then they send the video feed from that courtroom to 2 to 3 separate courtrooms that people could watch. Remember, these trials is for the public justice and the public good. So if there's a overwhelming demand of people wanting to see the trial, granted they can't record it, the judge has to take that into consideration and make amends. So apparently today, based on everything they've seen so far, and maybe that's them underestimating how popular Durk is, they did not have an overflow room. So a lot of people were not allowed in. I believe Mo Gagnon was not allowed in, or at least that's how it sounded. I'll play what he had to say I see Seti Nash out there. I want to give credit to all the people who are putting boots on ground. And if not for anything, let me tell you, as whether you like me or not, new media, I'm a strong advocate and proponent for these guys who are going out there. Like, y'all could keep y'all Rob Markmans and whoever else that y'all claim do journalism. I'm gonna keep the people who I'm seeing put the work in. So if it's Armand Wiggins, if it's Milagro, if it's motherfucking Trap Lord Ross, even Seti Nash, they're out there boots on ground. Y'all could keep shorty name that says, hey, I called around for a statement. I'm good off that. Anyway, shout out to even Mo Gagnet, and this is what he said about what happened this morning. So if you don't know how these trials start, the judge usually welcomes everybody there, describes the process and the charges really quickly, and outlines the process of what's going to happen. Opening statements, you have the defense and the prosecutors who go. You have the prosecutors who go first. So this is how the game is played. The prosecutor go first. They lay out a case that they have now got a grand jury indictment, actually 4 indictments. It's 4 superseding indictments that a criminal complaint at first. And now these indictments are the probable cause that have these guys arrested, and they are going to explain, just like how, remember I did a whole little almost like documentary just talking you through the whole thing. They're going to do the same thing in an opening statement to say, this is what you're going to see when we're done proving this case. So it's important for anybody who's never like watched the trial, or you're a little bit new to this court stuff. I'm here to break it all down for you. In opening and closing statements is the only time the attorney and the AUSA, basically, they're addressing the jury, and they get to editorialize. Other than that, they can't just go with a narrative. They have to bring witnesses and evidence. So you have at the beginning of the trial to kind of give your story of what you are going to prove. At the end of the trial, closing statements, you're going to sum it up and describe what you said you were going to prove and kind of showcase how you did prove it. And then it goes to the jury. That's it. So opening statements are very important, and also closing statements. One of the reasons I think Diddy's not, wasn't convicted of RICO and even sex trafficking, they said that his lawyer for the closing statements bodied that junk. He was telling jokes. He was like a comedian out there, which again, that's the time you get to address the jury. Before then, you're addressing the witnesses, and it's not about your narrative. And, anytime you inject something that might not be backed by fact, you could be objected to. But in opening statements, you could tell your story. Okay? All right. Anyway, it started today, and Mo gave us an update about how crazy it is at the courthouse. Check this out.
Major controversy outside the courtroom in the Lil Durk trial. Too many people, not enough seats. The court should have known that this was going to happen, and there is no overflow room. Typically, federal court proceedings open to the public. What they have, main courtroom, everybody can go in there. There's more public than can fit in that courtroom. They open up an overflow room. The overflow room is reportedly starting to be open, but opening statements are starting. Good chance this trial will start without all of the public that wants to attend and see it being able to attend and see it. This is not a surprise. They knew this was going to happen. On Thursday and on Friday, when the jury pool was going to be in the room, they had to move the reporters out and the press and the members of the public because the room could not fit everybody. There is a bigger courtroom. There's a courtroom on the first floor. That first floor courtroom is a ceremonial courtroom, lots of seating. It could have been used on Thursday, could have been used on Friday, accommodated the jury pool and all the people. It definitely should have been used.
Now, I want to put this in perspective. I'm not sticking up for the judge or even the court system of LA, even though it's a federal infrastructure here, not even state. Well, there was a federal infrastructure in the Southern District of New York. The press was staked out outside the courtroom with tents the week before. It's been pretty quiet. It's not a lot of paparazzi and like ABC News and this and third. It's a lot of independent journalists, but there's not that much hoopla as they came into the trial. So I could see why the court said, okay, yeah, there's interest, but we could deal with it within this one courtroom. We don't got to go like Diddy shit. There was people like camping out. Okay. There's a video real quick of Is my man Cousin Tino out there? If y'all don't know, man, Cousin Tino, chat nigga all day. You know, he's part of the squad. I think he might be out there too. Like, that's my guy. I seen him. By the way, I met Cousin Tino at AccompliceCon last year, man. Real chat nigga, been rocking with us. You know, of course, you know, locked him in with Grand, and he been a good nigga, man. Okay, yeah, it's my man. My man's out there. Perfect. Y'all want y'all niggas to go check out Cousin Tino too. You feel what I'm saying? You know, we got to empower everybody that fucks with us, man. That's our guy. Okay, so I'm not sure if this is a video, but he did post it. This is India showing up to court today. So, okay, I'm just gonna mute the music, but this is India showing up to court. One thing you'll notice that's different from this case as opposed to like the New York case with Diddy is that when Diddy walked up in that, well, when Diddy's family walked up, they had to come with a Sprinter. Keep in mind, from what I looked at, where this court location is at, it's not as like, you know, New York City's really like narrow roads, not really narrow, but it's just like, it's in the middle of the city. It's not as spread out. LA, even though just as bad traffic and it's kind of horrible when it comes to shit like that, the courthouse is a little bit better, you know, suited for this type of stuff. But remember, like Diddy's mom or like his kids, when they got out, there's a million like paparazzi. It doesn't seem like that's the case. You see India walking up, she's alone. I'm very interested who's gonna show up on his side. You know, he has several baby mamas, he has several kids, and his own family as well, but also his guys. Now, you know, shouts to Bands. He hit me yesterday. I didn't get a chance to answer, but I wanted to ask: is the guys going? I don't know if I wouldn't take it either way if his guys show up, if that means they're supporting him or not. If the feds is investigating the whole gang, I don't know if I want to show up to the trial, even though Durk's my man's. Let's say I'm part of the gang, right? So we don't know. Is Duty Low going to be there? Is DJ Band's going to be there? Is 100K Track going to be there? Is, well, there's a bunch of people arrested. I don't want to really go through everybody who's kind of like a part of their movement that might be not arrested because you never know what the feds has going on. But I don't know if they're going to show up, but we'll see. But of course, his wife shows up. And again, she shows up, not with like a sister, not with a cousin. She walks in, looks like she's flanked by security, you know. And yeah, she walks in by herself, it seems. It seems pretty calm, too. It seems pretty calm. Okay, these are the lawyers showing up. Okay, let's see. Is this the AUSA's? This might be the AUSA's, or it might be Durk's lawyer. I'm looking for... Durk has more lawyers than just Drew Finland and Brian Steele. Let's look. Okay. Yeah, we don't know who's who yet. Okay, Drew Finland's here. Big Bad Drew. And I think one of these women, or Marissa, she comes out of the office of Drew. So Drew has this woman who, her name is Marissa, which, by the way, thanks to Seti Nash, we're about to play his video in a second. She's the one who did the opening statements. That's kind of shocking. When you have Drew Finland, you have Brian Steele, you think one of them are going to do the opening statements. Because remember, you know, no disrespect to any woman, right? You know, we love our chat queens. But a lot of women attorney or female attorneys took a lot of lead in Diddy's case. You know why? They always say if you catch a domestic violence case or it's something against a woman, it's better if you have a female attorney speaking on your behalf rather than a male, right? Because if the male says, yo, she's a lying bitch that just wants money, right? It's going to seem just misogynistic, right? But you have a female lawyer saying, come on, you know what you wanted. This is why there was a female attorney who grilled Cassie, okay? And I believe even Jane Doe got grilled by a female attorney, both of them. It's now eluding me. I'm so sorry. It wasn't Mark Agnifilo. It was Tenny Garagos. We had Tenny Garagos, and then we had, I forgot the other lady who did the other one. So they kept the women on the women to make the jury feel good. Here's the thing. This is a murder case. People don't care. This is not about, you know, is he nice to women? So usually you want the bulldogs out. You want the pit bulls, right? This is the time you got to get Pluto. When I mean Pluto, you know, I have a Rottweiler called Pluto. You want your attack dogs to basically kick this shit off saying, yo, they're capping. Like, my guy's a good guy. They're saying he's a murderer. Like, he's paying. That's all not true. However, they didn't start with Drew Finland. And Drew Finland, I got to imagine, he's Bill Belichick here. He's Greg Popovich. So he's calling the shots. Now, this might be a strategy this might be a strategy that we saw, even though that was more of a female case with the Diddy stuff. We saw Mark Agnifilo do that too. Mark Agnifilo did interviews before. He didn't do opening statements. Mark Agnifilo did not do opening statements. Instead, he had a dream team of lawyers. He called this guy for that, called this person for that. There was this one smart kid that he had for like all the technological stuff. He was over here just plugging and playing, and I got to be honest, he was really good. He brought that African-American woman from the YSL case who was a lawyer, and he put her in there, and she dropped 55. Can't even lie. So he played quarterback and coach. So Drew Finland, $1 billion lawyer, he's showing up. But he's showing up with two people that works for his firm, and apparently he doesn't do opening statements. One of them do. Okay? They show up. It's game day for him. It's game day. Now, his rate is through the roof. They're saying a guy like this, $3,000 an hour. 3 bands. 3 bands an hour for the $1 billion lawyer. If he beat this case with Durk, just transfer all your assets to him, because 3,000 wouldn't be even the word. I mean, Brian Steele already is just seen as, and remember, listen, this is such a super team. Imagine putting, this is it right here. Imagine putting SGA, that's Shea or Gilchrist, whatever, Alexander, who's the MVP guy. Imagine putting him on the same team with Wemby. That's kind of what this is. This is already. You have Drew Finland and Brian Steele. And then you have a shit ton of other attorneys. He has his his Chicago attorneys. You know that girl that looks bad that people are like, damn, that's Durk's attorney. He has her. Everybody's on the field. I'm going to tell you why. Because there's going to be some detective that comes up. They've been wanting Durk for 10 years. They're Chicago detectives. Remember in 2019, Chicago detectives flew from Chicago to Atlanta to testify about how much Durk was in gangs and he was a bad guy that would shoot someone. Chicago couldn't get him. They only got him on gun charges. So when they saw that someone got him, which was Atlanta, the detectives took a flight trying to get Durk convicted. Obviously, that case was dropped. We all talked about it. But now it's in federal court. You think them the same detectives ain't going to be there? Of course. They're going to be. Now, granted, they can't bring in the gang element too much. I'm going to tell you why. There's a separate case, which is going to be the second case he's going to fight. That's the one with the, they call it the vicar or the vicar or whatever. That's the one that's more of the conspiracy with gang violence. It's basically a RICO. It just takes out the money portion of it, right? So essentially in racketeering, I'll just use 2 popular racketeering examples. They would claim that, okay, 6 9 and 9 Trey got a racketeering. Why did they get a RICO, right? RICO is racketeering influence corrupt organizations. Now, in both a RICO and a vicar or a vicar, there's still organizations or enterprises, but in a RICO, everything is done to advance position, keep the position of the gang, and also keep money. So money is a necessity. Because they're accusing Durk of just killing niggas for revenge, and they actually don't tie it to say, oh, when he does kill people for revenge, his music goes up and he gets more money. They actually say there's no money portion in this. They just basically said this was a ruthless guy. And by the way, that makes it even tougher. It's actually almost tougher than the RICO. You know why? In a RICO, you could be like, bro, we were just doing business. The nature of hip-hop business is whatever. That's how money comes in. When they say a vicar or vicar, they're basically saying that all of this was just senseless violence that had nothing to do with trying to make money, keep money, gain market share. None of that. This was just violence. Anyway, that's gonna come in. And by the way, all the Chicago detectives are going to be on that. But that's not this case. They got severed. So that's the second case if he beats this. You know, again, it's like Durk is down 0-2 in a series to 3. Okay? He's down 0-2. The way how you win in a 5-game series and you're down 0-2, you got to start one game at a time, right? You got to win the next 3 games. Durk has to first win this case, then think about the next, and then afterwards, I'm pretty sure the government will have like a 5th game trying to throw at him, but he has to beat this case. Okay. If I'm talking too much, if I'm over-explaining, I know you guys want to get to it. Remember, we don't have actual in-court audio. I'm trying to give you as much details as possible, as much as I can. But if I'm over-talking, please be like, yo, Act, play the video. Shut up. It's cool. Somebody says, how is he down? Well, he's down by the fact that he has 2 indictments, right? So you have 2 indictments. So essentially, if anything goes wrong for him, he loses a series. That's the point I'm trying to say. The indictments are essentially being down a game. What I'm saying is he can't get convicted of anything, and he has to beat 2 convictions at least, and probably 1 more is going to come. Okay. They get into court. Oh, and here's Brian Steele. Big Brian. Big Brian. I've seen this lady before. What's her name? I forgot her name. They work good in tandem. Okay. So we're seeing some smiles from Durk's attorneys. They are showing up for court. This is seemingly good. Let's go back to the video of what about the lack of space, and then we're gonna get to some updates because yes, they have started.
News today. Major controversy.
Okay. Now, shout out to Seti Nash. He is on the scene, and he is reported. Okay. By the way, let's get to what Seti Nash said. He did an update outside court. Shout out to Seti Nash. Crystal clear camera. Look at my boy.
All right, man. Live from the Lil Durk trial, man, here at the Fed building. And we've been tossed a whole bunch of lies. So let me get to my notes. Y'all know we're going to do notes out here and everything. So Durk didn't have Drew. He didn't have Brian. He didn't have any of that. He had none of those individuals do his opening statement. He had Marissa Goldberg. And the way that she crafted it.
Okay, I hate to keep pausing it, but we got to figure out all these people. Marissa Goldberg. Okay. I believe she works with, yes, this is her right here. So this is who Smirk put his future in her hands. She works for Drew Finland. Okay? She's a criminal defense lawyer based out of Atlanta, Georgia. She's a partner at the Finland Law Firm. Okay? So Finland Law Firm, when we look that up, you're going to see Big Drew right there. We're going to see Big Drew right there. And here's a team. Drew Finland, Marissa Goldberg. Okay? Yeah, I think we saw him walking in too. Zach Kaleher. Okay? These are the best we could get, people. Drew Finland and I guess Marissa, I will read her background for a second. She's a partner at the firm. She represents clients in a highly complex and sophisticated criminal matters in state and federal court. Since joining the firm in 2011, she's won many highly publicized acquittals in courts across the nation and earned a reputation as a legal triple threat. She's a great trial attorney, a great appellate attorney, and a great writer. She earned, okay, all right, cool. So this is her. Wow, very interesting. Now, as we get along, you guys are going to know the prosecutors just like how we knew, I forgot Shorty. She got fired after the Diddy trial, but we knew the prosecutors in Diddy trial. We're going to get to know the prosecutors here, but in due time. Okay, so cool. That's the person who does the opening statements and look like said he has some more info on that. Here we go.
She already exposed that the feds were lying about the text messages. So when you say, don't book no flights with my name on it, that wasn't even about nothing about LA. That was about some shows and some other shit. And she said, what sense does it make for him to book it anyways? What got revealed is that Vonni is the mastermind. Kayvon Grant is the 100% mastermind of all this shit. Him and Jim,
now chat. Of course, I'm pretty sure, I know Seti Nash does his thing. He's going to do a longer video. He was probably just out of court for a second to make this video. Let me say this to y'all, chat. Let me say this. Durk defense. Remember, it's incumbent on the government to make a case against you. It's not on you to show up to tell why you're innocent. Now, with that, some people, like, for example, Diddy didn't have that much of a defense. Like, Diddy kind of brought up a couple people, but that's it. It was like, hey, our job We felt we did by just playing defense and batting down everything the prosecutor said. We brought up reasonable doubt in everything they said, job done. We don't have to put on a case if that's the case, right? Durk says he has 25 witnesses. 25 witnesses sounds like you're trying to put on a case. It doesn't seem like you're trying to just like, kind of button a few things up. Sounds like the government got 35, Durk got 25. Now, what did I just learn from what Seti Nash just said? Seti Nash said Marissa Goldberg, who's doing the opening for Durk, basically lays out that the government has stuff wrong and basically says the mastermind is Kevon Grant, a.k.a. O.T. Avani. What does that tell us, chat? It tells us that Durk's defense, we don't know if he's going to put on a full defense case, but he's already framing this as, why y'all saying Durk is the mastermind? It's Vonnie. Now, for the people in the back, he's not pointing fingers. What he's doing is what's called an alternate theory defense, right? An alternate theory defense is like, say me and you at the park. Somebody get killed in a park. They arrest me because they claim there's evidence that I did the killing. We've seen this with Rondo number 9 and C-Day. It's kind of looked at in certain senses as snitching, but it's looked at as trying to figure out, you use an alternate theory to get reasonable doubt. So Durk, rather than saying, this ain't got nothing to do with me, I don't know nothing about it, it looks like he's saying, based on the evidence, that's the mastermind. So Vonnie, he's claiming, obviously Durk's not going to take the stand, but his lawyers are going to take all the evidence, all the discovery, and make a case of defense for Durk to say, the mastermind isn't Smirkio. He's not Durk Banks. It's actually O.T. Avani. Interesting.
Turn snitching. And it's crazy because they admit that the day before, the early morning, they had the location on Quando Rondo, Jim and Jim and Vonnie. And what ends up happening is they decide not to. So what happens is we find out that your boy Jim, his mouth don't stop working. Oh. Your boy done operated and cooperated in over 30 cases.
What? Wait, you tell me Jam got niggas jammed up 30 times? Chat, am I hearing this right? They said Jam got jammed. Yo, 6ix9ine is on this case. Yo, 6ix9ine want to cover this case with me so bad. He just tagged me on some of the Yo, 6ix9ine want to cover. We didn't get to we're gonna listen to Trap Lord Ross afterwards. Yo, 6ix9ine, you want to cover this case so bad with me? You could come cover with me, brother. But you got to come to LA too. We got to go to LA. You got to go. Is 6ix9ine allowed in LA? Look, he just tagged me on this shit. So chat, it looks like Durk is not pointing the finger, but his lawyers are using what's called an alternate theory, which means they're gonna say, why do you think my client did it when there is as much proof that guy did it? Yeah, 6ix9ine, he's gonna have a ball with it because, to me, it's not snitching, right? That's not snitching. It's a legal maneuver to say, if we need to create reasonable doubt, it's a legal maneuver to basically say, hey, the evidence y'all think y'all got on me actually supports someone else. So that, by that definition, if it also supports someone else, you don't have beyond a reasonable doubt. Let my people go. Let me free. Let me free. Now, in the streets, which has always been so stupid, any type of defense, once I heard Wack 100 told me that if you call the cops after you got shot, right? And say someone shot you and you shot them back and you blew them down, you killed them. If you call the cops and told the cops, yo, he shot me, so I shot him, which is clear self-defense, you're snitching. I'm like, what? Like, the streets are.
So you have that. Then you have Kevon Grant being the one who did all the drilling and all the setting up. He's the one who did the black shirt shooting and all that, who's saying, hey, basically, bro, check this one out. I got something for y'all. I know how to do the stolen cars. I know how to get the guns. I know how to get the ski masks. I know how to do all of that stuff.
Okay, so Durk's team is positioning it as Durk wouldn't know how to set this up. He's a big multimillionaire celebrity. It's Kevon Grant, O.T. Avani. He's a mastermind. He tells Durk, Yo, I know how to get the ski mask. Matter of fact, I'm going to go get them the gloves. I'm going to go get them the guns. I know how to do all that. So essentially, they're going to try to paint, this is the defense team opening statement. They're going to paint Durk as I didn't know what was going on. I got the bread. I always pay for the guys. They misuse, if money came from my credit cards or OTF credit cards, they misused it. Yeah, I ain't like the nigga, but I never gave them explicit direction, or I wasn't down with the plan. Now, the music is going to come in at that point. I ain't going to lie.
So you have that. And the way that he told on Lil Durk was simple. It wasn't no, hey, bruh, Durk told me to do this, Durk told me to do that. No, he gave the feds a breadcrumb, and the breadcrumb was...
By the way, could we put out an APB, or not an APB, but I need, I want to give this guy a lot of credit. I went back and watched a lot of his videos, and I'm just not a fake nigga, so I'm going to give people that credit. Trenches News, he's out of here. I'm going to be honest with you. Trenches News got everything. Trenches News is like next level, okay? I want to give him that credit, but Trenches News, I need you. Okay, we got 20,000 on here. I need you on this broadcast with me. Let's figure out some dates and times, because I'm going to be honest with you. I went back and watched 2-year-old videos of what you were talking about, and goddamn it, nigga, either you're a prosecutor your damn self, or you got a lot of this motherfucking shit right. So Trenches News, please, I need to get you on here, okay? Trenches News, I need you. We're going to bring in as many people, and I also want to ask if there's any pro-Durk people. I'm going to try to get Mo Gagnon on, because because he's a defense guy, he's a lawyer, he usually takes the side of the person that's being accused. We need to get some people who could try to explain alternate theories or whatever for Durk. This is not a Durk bashing session. We love Durk, but we trying to make it fair. So Trenches News, I need you. We also need someone, maybe if you have some criminal, lawyer experience, maybe if you know the guys, obviously I don't want none of his immediate guys on here. None of them, okay? So with all love to Duty Low, and you guys can't be on my stream, just for, we know that, right? So, but if anyone kind of looks at this and say the government is reaching and you're pro-Durk, I want you on the stream too, okay? This is not a Durk bashing session. I know 6ix9ine doesn't like him, but I refuse to just only have one side represented.
Simply this. Hey, how this happened? Check them credit cards. So that's why the credit cards became so goddamn important. But what they did reveal today was that, hey, man, he had access to them dang credit cards because they were under what's called astronaut sounds. So he had access because of his little shit and everything that he had going on. It was not what they try to portray. So the feds, we didn't get to hear their opening statement, so you had to check on Trapper Ross for that. He got into the courtroom. It was crazy, bro. It was a lot of people, Durk's family, a lot of media who just decided to do whatever they want to do. That's on the feds to do. But they say basically that Durk's family and everybody was already in California. I'm not going to say where Durk...
Okay, so Durk's team is positioning, why did he go to California? These are questions that the jury is going to have questions for. Well, if you're claiming, so you could tell what their defense is. Hey, we didn't know what's going on. If anything, this was planned by OTF Vonnie. So, the jury's going to say, well, why did Durk go to California with them when the murder was committed? They're claiming, oh, Durk was going to his family. Durk was not going for no other reason, just to his family. Now, Durk supposedly did a podcast, so there's a little bit of alibi there, but they're trying to make it clear he did not go to California to support, to watch, to help, whatever, with the murder of Lil Pop. Remember, he flew on a private jet with OTF Vonnie, who's now being angled, or the elbow is being pointed that he is the culprit, or he's the crime boss.
Lived or anything like that, but you won't see any money. They said no money evidence, no bounty, no reward. And yeah. And then D-Ski's lawyer came out, bruh, and I ain't gonna lie. If there's somebody who possibly might get away as far as nothing, bruh, it would be D-Ski's lawyer. D-Ski lawyer basically dropped a bombshell that said D-Ski has literally, bullshit you not, had nothing to do with none of this. D-Ski just got shit told to pull up, and they talk about him pulling up to a bunch of places, and he was just hungry. He was a hungry OTF artist and all that. So basically, That's why he didn't have a mask. He didn't have a gun. He didn't have nothing. He don't got no text messages going against Quando Rondo or any of that shit. That doesn't exist. And then you had Brown Eyes, and basically his lawyer might destroy the murder for hire part of it, because he basically say, bro, no money was ever given before August 19th and after August 19th. David Lindsay, Brown Eyes, is not a rapper. He ain't in no goddamn videos. He ain't in no raps. He don't do any of that shit. Now, once again, I was not able to look at the opening statements from the DA, from the Fed prosecutors, because basically we weren't in there. It got crazy as hell this early morning, but there y'all go, man. The early shit from the Lil Durk trial, day one opening statements, and we about to get back to it.
Okay. Now let's get to Trap Lil Ross. Apparently Trap Lil Ross got the shit. Oh my God. Let's see. Wow. Whoa. A barrage of videos from 43 minutes ago. A barrage of videos. Let's hear. We're going to listen to all 4 videos. Shout to Trap Lil Ross. Let me tell Trap Lord, call me when he can. If he has a moment. Call me whenever you can. When you have a moment, not doing updates or something. I'm on stream. Okay, we've hit him up. Okay, here we go, chat.
Opening statements have now officially taken place in the Lil Durk trial. It's now officially day 3, and there was some very, very interesting updates. So the first thing
now is day 3. He's saying it's day 3, but it's actually day 1 of the trial. I'm going to call it day 1 of the trial because I'm not going to count the jury selection. So because jury selection and instructions and some of the pre-trial stuff, I'm not going to go with that. They did 2 days of jury selection. I'm going to say this is day 1, but if you do hear later on that our timing isn't right, add 2 days to what I'm saying. I'm going with trial, first day opening statements, okay? He's going with day 3. It's all good. Just nomenclature at that point.
I'm going to tell you guys about is the prosecution's opening statement. They started extremely strong, and I'm not going to lie, they had a bunch of evidence that they already showed simply in their opening statement that hadn't been seen before. They basically are making it very, very clear this is all about King Von. It's all about revenge for Von, slide for Von. They showed still images of, the fight between Quando Rondo and Von that led to Von's death. They talked about, the plans to stalk Quando Rondo all across the country to try and kill him multiple times. They didn't show footage, but they showed still images that apparently showed the first time they tried to kill Quando Rondo all the way back in 2021 and that situation. So that was kind of interesting. They basically from there they went on to show multiple angles of the footage of the murder of Lil Pab. They actually did eventually later on during testimony, which I'll tell you more about in a minute, show full-blown 4K footage of the Lil Pab murder. Straight up 4K. You could see they had ski masks on. You could damn near see their eyes crystal clear. It was pretty tough evidence. But what was really shocking is they made it very clear OTF Jam was one of the shooters in the Lil Pab murder. He is willing to testify. He's killed multiple people, and he is now working with the government, and he is going to explain that he is one of Durk's hitmen. He was contracted to come out there and try and kill Quando Rondo that resulted in Lil Pab's death, and basically he is going to be working with the government. They also confirmed that Vonnie was basically Lil Durk's personal assistant. He was with him for everything, with him constantly, all kinds of stuff that they were doing, and he basically helped organize and orchestrate the whole thing while Lil Durk was chilling in a luxury property. One of the crazy things that they brought up during that was the fact that apparently the stolen car that they were using to slide around LA, the BMW that apparently Vonnie was driving, it had a tracker in it, and they tracked it to the murder, to the In-N-Out, and back to the house that Durk was staying in. That was very, very bad. So all of that really wasn't sounding too good.
What the fuck? Hold on, chat. I can't rewind it here. Maybe I could. Oh, let me go to Trap Lil Ross. On Instagram, you can't really hit the replay button. Did he put the same? Oh, he didn't put the same stuff. Fuck it. No fucking way. Give me 1 second, chat. We got to get into everything, chat. If I just heard right, Trap Lil Ross is saying in opening statements, by the way, this was never mentioned in any of these lead-up documents where the government was laying out supposedly all they knew. The government clearly had way more. And by the way, this is the difference with playing with the feds versus playing with the state. The government got it all. They're not here trying to make it up. They got it all. So they got some shit. We thought they gave us all the stuff. We feel like we're reading text messages. Don't put my name into this. Blah, blah, blah. They got these accusations. They're saving the gut punch. This is the uppercut. They saved it for opening day. And what opening day we find out probably like 10 minutes into trial as they're laying out their case, they're saying that the car that was rented to do all of this shit, and it was rented by Vonni, that Vonnie's going to testify he rented. If Durk is going to say that he ain't got nothing to do with, which by the way, we just found out from, Seti Nash, and, I'm pretty sure Trapler is going to tell us, that car has a tracker in it that tracks back to exactly where Durk is at. So Durk's defense of, I just went to see my family. Well, if you went to see your family, now I'm not saying this is just hook, line, and sinker, he's done, but you're not going to have to explain why, if you only went to LA to see your family and do business, why does that car come back? Now, I'll give you an explanation what he's probably going to say, right? Or what his lawyer's going to say. Well, hey, that's still his friends. Of course they're going to come see him. Doesn't mean that he knows about it. Doesn't mean that he co-signed it. Do you believe that? I don't know. Let me play this one more time because that's crazy. Hold up.
Opening statements have now officially taken place in the Lil Durk trial. It's now officially day 3, and there was some very, very interesting updates. So the first thing I'm going to tell you guys about is the prosecution's opening statement. They started extremely strong, and I'm not going to lie, they had a bunch of evidence that they already showed simply in their opening statement that hadn't been seen before. They basically are making it very, very clear this is all about King Von. It's all about revenge for Von, slide for Von. They showed still images of, the fight between Quando Rondo and Von that led to Von's death. They talked about, the plans to stalk Quando Rondo all across the country to try and kill him multiple times. They didn't show footage, but they showed still images that apparently showed the first time they tried to kill Quando Rondo all the way back in 2021 and that situation. So that was kind of interesting. They basically, from there, they went on to show multiple angles of the footage of the murder of Lil Pab. They actually did eventually later on during testimony, which I'll tell you more about in a minute, show full-blown 4K footage of the Lil Pab murder. Straight up 4K. You could see they had ski masks on. You could damn near see their eyes crystal clear. It was pretty tough evidence.
Those killers must have not realized this is the gas station in Beverly Hills. If you guys have never been to the Beverly Center, that's one of the biggest malls. You could go there, get everything. You could bump into anybody. When you at that particular mall, okay, that's as high profile as you could get. If you think you about to have grainy cameras and just motion detectors, you're tripping. You're going to get the best cameras. This is, imagine, how we talked about, or actually, we've talked a lot of times. So FBG Duck got gunned down in what they call in Chicago's Gold Coast. That's where it's a downtown area that is affluent. It's not O Block. It is not 63rd. This is not where lawlessness happens. This is not where niggas just pull out guns and go shoot they ops up and niggas. It's not that. This is why the feds came in. Because anytime you start bringing violence to where white people are supposed to be at, and money, real money is supposed to be spent at, you did it at some, was it a Dolce & Gabbana store? Or was some high-end fashion store? Once you do it there, you're saying, feds, come on in. You're fucking up millions of dollars of business because you want to be gun happy? Oh, you said you could only catch your op in front of the Beverly Center? You might as well kill them at the Hollywood sign. You might as well kill them right outside LAX. You're saying, feds, come over here and go. So you hear what Trap Lord is saying. The cameras they got is not some bullshit. They got the shit that gonna see the pimple on your face. They gonna see what eye color you got, even with the mask. That is problematic. Not saying that means Durk is cooked, not saying it's Durk, but he's describing how clear you see stuff, and he's almost basically describing to say, we could see the guy dying in court. Which, by the way, I don't know how, well, obviously they tried to eliminate some of this footage in the motions eliminate, right? Which is try to eliminate certain stuff that couldn't be shown in court. Imagine first day of court, you're watching somebody die. If you think they're going to be like, we're not holding nobody accountable. I'm not saying it's going to be Durk, but if you think nobody's going to be held accountable, you're cooked.
But what was really shocking is they made it very clear OTF Jam was one of the shooters.
Once again, co-conspirator 2, who we didn't know. Actually, I was in denial that it was OTF Jam. OTF Jam is co-conspirator 2. He's not only co-conspirator 2, he is testifying and possibly going to be talking about several other murders. Here's the thing. This is what should be understood. I hear people keep saying these guys are uncharged. OTF Jam has murder charges. Guaranteed. Has maybe not a RICO, but he has the Vicar charge, and he definitely has his murder for hire charge. What happens with co-conspirators, what happens with snitches, is that they seal all of those things. So they charge them, they seal it, and what happens, it happened with 6ix9ine too. You plead guilty. That's how you can't do the YSL Woody. OTF Jam, I will bet $1 million on it. He has a case, he pled guilty, it's all sealed. You'll never see it till later. In the federal government, you plead guilty, they got you by the balls. You can't do nothing. Because now when you pled guilty, what you pled guilty to is automatic life. But it's with the thought that you're going to go snitch to get what's called, there's only a few ways to not, so in federal court, there's what's called mandatory minimums. A judge in a federal case doesn't have as much, it's not based on his discretion compared to state. The mandatory minimums dictated. The only way they could depart from the mandatory minimums is, well, it's a few ways. First is what 6ix9ine did. That's called a 5K letter. Okay? When you get a 5K letter, it's a letter from the government that says, yes, this person, and by the way, they get it and you plead guilty. So 6ix9ine pled guilty facing 46, but he knew he was going to snitch. After he snitched, he knew he was going to get a letter, and that letter could have the government go all the way down to even time served. So a life imprisonment could go down to time served. The government also could chime in on how well you cooperate. Oh, this guy was great. Imagine what they said for like Sam DeBull. Oh, this guy was amazing. This guy was like the best. Give him extra credit, a couple extra stars in the refrigerator. So when you hear facing life, a life sentence could go down to a couple years. And that's why all these cooperants want to drop 50 on the stand. Because not only you want to get the letter, you want the government to tell the judge, hey judge, not only did this person cooperate, they helped us on several other issues, several other cases, several other bodies. This person was an excellent cooperator. They look like they are trying to pay their debt back to society. Don't give them life. Actually, don't give them 20. Give them 15. We're going to have to provide them with, witness protection anyway. 15 is like a good thing. Or let's give them 10. I would imagine if someone's snitching, they want 10. Unless you have like priors like Jam. I think Jam wants 20. Jam wants 20 or 15. Vonni wants time served. Or he wants 3 to 5, but he's already locked up for 2. People say he's down with getting 7, which means he'll be locked up for 2 more years. He gets out. So everybody's playing this game, but in federal court, you cannot wiggle out. So Jam, I'll bet anybody any money on this. And I'll call 6ix9ine. We'll talk to him about this too. And I know some of y'all hate when 6ix9ine chimes in on this. Yes, he has an angle. He hates Durk. But he has been through the federal system where there are cooperants, and he knows that system way better than even me. There's a couple of people we might have to drag in for this trial. Please, it's not about do we like him. It's about us having the best information. We're going to have the best coverage on this no matter what. We might have to pull in Myron Gaines at a point. 6ix9ine, he's been a cooperator. Remember, he was facing 46. He got out in 2. Right? We're going to have to get some of the lawyers. We're going to try to get everybody possible. By the way, Bradford Cohen, my man Bradford Cohen, if you guys could clip this, send it to Bradford Cohen. I'm going to need him at some point. By the way, Bradford Cohen, I believe he was either consultant for this, but we did see he was the lawyer on Pooh Shiesty's case. He recused himself afterwards. But he's very familiar with these type of cases. Pooh Shiesty's case, the federal case, even though nobody died, kidnapping, this clearly is a murder for hire federal case as well. So we want to, there's a few people, Trenches News, I need you. Bradford Cohen, I need you. Everybody else, I think they'll kind of fall in line. All right? Okay. Interesting.
In the Lil Pab murder, he is willing to testify. He's killed multiple people, and he is now working with the government. And
multiple people. Remember I told y'all that OTF Jam signed what's called a queen for a day? He walked in there and got immunity, and he told on every murder he committed. Everyone. Not only Lil Pop, every single one. Here's the thing. He has to tell every murder. Remember, he pled guilty already. If he left out a murder, that plea deal evaporates. So whether it's murders connected to this Durk case with Pop, the future case with Stephon Mack, basically we have realized when he said he's Sammy the Bull, he's cleaned his plate. He told the government about all his murders for whatever deal he got. Let me keep it going.
He is going to explain that he is one of Durk's hitmen. He was contracted to come out there and try and kill Quando Rondo that resulted in Lil Pam's death. And basically, he is going to be working with the government. They also confirmed that Vonni was basically Lil Durk's personal assistant. He was with him for everything, with him constantly, all kinds of stuff that they were doing. And he basically helped organize and orchestrate the whole thing while Lil Durk was chilling in a luxury property. One of the crazy things that they brought up during that was the fact that apparently the stolen car that they were using to slide around LA, the BMW that apparently Vonni was driving, They had a tracker in it, and they tracked it to the murder, to the In-N-Out, and back to the house that Durk was staying in.
Wow. The car went to all of those places. Crazy.
That was very, very bad. So all of that really wasn't sounding too good. It was quite a lot of stuff, quite a lot of evidence, and we're really just at the tip of the iceberg with this stuff. So I would say that the prosecution's opening statement was very strong. They basically explained all the different people that they had helping them out. So they've basically got 3 trusted OTF lieutenants that are expected to take the stand. The government have got a whole bunch of evidence. They've got footage, they've got lyrics, they've got music videos. They showed stills of some of the music videos that they're going to be showing, and it's a lot. It's a lot that they've got. So I feel like the prosecution's opening statement was very strong. I'm going to do another video telling you all about the defense's opening statement, and to be honest, Durk's strategy really caught me by surprise. I don't know if it's going to work, but it definitely wasn't the defense that a lot of you guys were expecting, and I think it's going to blow your mind. So stay tuned. I'm going to do another video updating you on Durk's defense.
Okay, I wasn't shocked by this Durk defense statement. You know, if all the shooters and people around you are admitting that there was a plot to do the murder, except they're all claiming that you made up the plot, at some point, your defense has to be, hey, well, if they're saying that there was a whole plot, they're all admitting to a plot. And they're saying, I'm the mastermind. I just have to take the facts of what they're saying and basically say, no, I was oblivious to this. I was oblivious to that. I didn't make the call on this. I wasn't a shot caller here. It was somebody else. Now, is that snitching? We're going to talk about it. Here we go.
Man, so the feds just revealed something about Lil Durk that had never been heard before. Now, there was all these rumors that Lil Durk was trying to flee the country when his homeboys started getting arrested. They're saying he tried to get on a private jet. He was booking all different kinds of flights and going on the run. He's denied this, but we now heard for the first time, allegedly, according to the prosecutors, this blew my mind. Not only was Lil Durk trying to flee the country before he could be charged in the murder for hire for Lil Pab, but apparently, this is crazy. They're saying that when he arrived to the Clearport, the private airport where he was trying to get on a private jet to flee the country, he said that he saw the FBI.
That was Opelika Executive Airport out of Florida. That's where most of the private flights, including, I think, Rick Ross either has a hangar there or Rick Ross has a hangar there. I ain't gonna cap.
FBI there, and he tried to run from the FBI and escape the FBI at the airport. And then he said when they finally closed him off and boxed him in and stopped him.
Wait. Smirky will try to run? What?
Bruh, they said that he refused to get out the car. They saying Smirk was holding himself, barricaded himself.
Okay, this sounds cap. How is he running? But then when they boxed him off, he was in a vehicle. So it seems like the vehicle just wasn't stopping, right? But you gotta listen to these word semantics. They say when I hear running, I imagine Durk like. That's clearly not what it is, right? They're basically saying that the police, they're trying to pull him over, right? They probably pull up right where, he's about to drive onto the tarmac or whatever. It's a private jet airport. And Durk sees it, and Durk's like, nah, keep going, folks. Like, now, granted, Durk probably is trying to buy some time. He got shit on his phone. He's probably like, yo, delete, let's break the shit, whatever. But They're saying he didn't stop immediately, but they're making it seem that they were chasing him. But when you hear chasing, you think Durk is running. Durk is not on feet.
Off in the car, basically, he wouldn't get out the car.
So they said Durk then wouldn't get out the car, which I would imagine he's clearing his phone or doing whatever, which, you know, as bad of a situation, I think that would be smart.
He didn't want to get out for law enforcement. It was crazy. I never heard that before. It sounds to me like he was trying to get out of here. Obviously, the defense, they're claiming the other side. They're saying, no, you know, look, what was really interesting was when the defense addressed this, they didn't outright deny it. They said, look, he was looking to get out the country. He wasn't going to run. He's internationally famous. He was just trying to get out the way. I think they said specifically, the way they phrased it, they said, look, he wasn't trying to flee the feds. He was just trying to get some space. He was just trying to get some space. Apparently, he was just trying to get some space when...
Wait, what? No, Schmirkio needs some space. My boy almost healed. What you mean?
He went to the airport trying to get some space when he was trying to get some space from the feds to get away from them. He was trying to get some space when he refused to get out of the car when the feds boxed him in. So, hey, I think we might actually end up seeing eventually some body cam footage from the arrest when they caught him at the airport. I don't know for sure.
I think that's a moot point. They don't need to show that. Like, if anything, them mentioning it, oh, actually, they might show just to say, oh, this guy was pretty desperate to not get caught. He knew it was coming.
But obviously, I'm very interested to see that. I think the fact that somebody would try and flee definitely does add an interesting dimension to the proceedings. But I'll let you guys know as soon as I hear. There's a lot of other stuff, and I'm going to break down Durk's defense that his team put forward in their opening statement that was very interesting, very unexpected. So I'm going to update you guys on that as soon as I possibly can. But there has been an insane amount of updates. It's been back to back to back in court today, both opening statements, and we're now on the witnesses. It's wild.
Okay, so let's hear what Durk's opening statement is from Traplo Ross. By the way, if there's any other court reporters or, you know, independent media that's out there that's giving updates, please let me know. We want to watch their videos as well. All right. Obviously, we trust our man Traplo or Shot to Steady, but we want to get everybody's opinion.
I cannot believe what Lil Durk's defense is. We have just heard his defense make their opening statements, and I'm not going to lie, I'm absolutely floored. You know what they're trying to do? They're blaming it all on Vonni. Now, I don't know if people are going to go as far as to say that he's telling on Vonni, but he basically is blaming everything on Vonni. They're basically making this whole case. They showed the entire opening statement, right? Bear in mind that the prosecution, they showed various pictures, videos, still images of multiple attempts on Quando's life, the actual murder of Lil Pab, the footage of that, footage from Durk's music videos, footage from apparently still images of them when they tried to kill Quando in Waycross, Georgia. It was a whole presentation. When the defense were up there, they basically showed only a couple pictures, and the one picture they showed the whole time was just a picture of Vonni with King Von. They said it's all Vonni. Vonni was King Von's cousin. They said his nickname was Cuz because he was King Von's cousin. His whole identity was based around the fact that he was King Von's cousin, and he was the only one pushing the slide for Von. They're all literally directly pointing the finger at Vonni, saying Vonni did it. Vonni's admitting to the government that he did it. He's turned snitch to try and save himself. Durk.
Wow. Interesting. Now, it's kind of, this is going to be an interesting strategy. And I know, I apologize if I'm pausing a lot, but it's to give y'all details. So if Durk is saying Vonni did it, remember, there's a couple layers to this. OTF Jam is also a snitch. So OTF Jam is a shooter. According to like how it's written in the indictment, OTF Jam was recruited by Booney Mo. Booney Mo supposedly spoke with Didi and Durk, and that's how they got OTF Jam. Okay? So Booney Mo told Jam to go there. So here's the thing, which, by the way, we're going to see how Booney Mo plays into this. This is going to be crazy. But even without you saying or us thinking that Vonni, here's the thing with also, this it's a tough sell saying Vonni is the mastermind. Yes, Vonni is supposedly the cousin of King Von. Apparently, this was a slide for Von thing. Vonni does not have a criminal record. Vonni has no history of supposedly calling hits. There's nobody going to testify that, oh, he called for this person to be murdered. Oh, he set up this murder. There is none of that for Vonni. This is where a clean record is going to help him. Will that be believable? How could you sell that this guy's a criminal mastermind? He never did no crime. Okay?
Had nothing to do with it. They're saying that Vonni had the most to gain by sliding for Von. They're saying that Vonni was the guy that was driving the Hellcat away from the scene when King Von got shot. They're saying Vonni tried to speed King Von to the hospital the day that he died. They down near said Vonnie was holding King Von in his arms, telling him he loved him before he took him to the hospital the last time they ever spoke.
Oh, so they have painted that Vonnie felt so guilty for King Von dying. King Von died in his arms. This is what emboldened Vonnie to become a mastermind criminal.
They basically said that it was Vonnie that has the motivation to slide. It was all Vonnie's idea. Vonnie was organizing everything. Vonnie got the guns. Vonnie got the cars. Vonnie got the sliders. Vonnie got the killers. He did everything. And Durk did nothing. They're blaming it all on Vonnie. I couldn't believe it. Now, look, I'm not sure what people are going to categorize this as. I mean, is it telling if somebody is already cooperating with the state against you? Is there such thing as reverse telling? Can you tell back if somebody works with the state?
So that's going to be a street issue. And that's what 6ix9ine was trying to jump in on. For me, I look at it in a court setting. It's called alternate theory, right? You're basically saying, hey, this guy's telling on me, and he's trying to say I'm the kingpin because I'm rich and famous, but really he's the kingpin. Okay? Now, here's the thing about telling. No matter what Durk's statements are, Vonnie can't get charged because he signed an immunity deal. Just like how Jam signed an immunity deal. They have admitted to what they claim they've done. And as long as the government can't prove that they've lied, no matter what Durk's defense is, they can't say, oh, Durk, you know what? You're right. Actually, Vonnie, fuck your deal. You're going back on well, actually, he pled guilty already. Like, you're not going to know it, but he pled guilty. We're all going to see as soon as this trial ends. Actually, it might not even happen then because they're going to need both of the guys. The thing with the feds, this is different from state. You don't get sentenced till you work your time with everybody. 6ix9ine, not only did 6ix9ine had to tell in the RICO case, there was a severed RICO case with Harv and Nuke, the guys who kidnapped him. He had to testify, or at least be available to testify for both. Okay? Now, he only had to testify with Harv and Nuke because everybody else pled out. No one on that original 9-tray indictment took it really to trial. Okay? Everybody copped out. Only Harv and Nuke, who supposedly kidnapped him, took it to trial, and he was forced to testify. Until the government uses you like a cheap whore, you don't get your sentence. So the idea with Vonnie is that Vonnie not only has to testify here, he probably has to, at least definitely Jam. He has to wait until all of Durk cases is solved before he gets out or gets a sentence. Obviously, he's doing time served now anyway. Probably in some like cushy jail. When we call 6ix9ine back, we'll ask him what he believes the jail situation is for like Vonnie, given the fact that he's cooperating.
Tells on you, can you tell back? But basically, Durk and his team are making it very clear it was all Vonnie. He's saying it's all Vonnie. Apparently, when they arrested Vonnie, he was staying in a suite at a hotel in Chicago with his girlfriend. He said the cops busted into the suite and arrested him. And the defense is saying, when the cops interviewed him, they basically said, you're the leader until you put someone else in charge. You're the one that was in charge of all of this. They were saying Vonnie and King Von go back decades. Their fathers were friends. Their dads just like went back years. Vonnie was, doing personal shopping for King Von. They even said, Vonnie was so locked in with King Von, they had a shared bank account. He was managing all of his money. That was his closest guy. Bro, they even said, I don't know how true this is, but they said that when King Von died and he was in the car on the way to the hospital, he said to Vonnie, why did you let me get shot? Why didn't you do something?
Now, that's going to be important. You can't just claim random shit. This terror is back. Oh, my God. Now, again, you could tell stories in your opening statements. Anything after this, you're going to have some proof. So going forward, they're going to have to prove that who else was in the car that heard Vonnie, right? That heard Vonnie say to, or King Von say to Vonnie, damn, why? Okay. We'll get to it in a bit. All right.
And they're saying that devastated Vonnie. He couldn't save King Von, and basically he planned to slide for Von that night. Nothing. They saying Durk didn't do nothing. It was all Vonnie. I don't know if that's going to be believed, but that's the defense. It's insane. I cannot believe what Lil Durk's...
Okay, so that's part of his defense. Let's keep it going. We have another. Oh, apparently now he's talking about. So the government got off a few things that was accepted into trial. Now, a lot of times, like for example, in the YNW Melly case, they the prosecutors wanted to do a field trip. I know this sounds crazy. They wanted to do a field trip to bring the jurors around the car that's still in evidence that shows the gruesome scene of all the blood splatter, of basically the bullets trajectory through the headrest and everything. And they wanted to kind of like have the jury be in the presence of a murder and to say, this is what we're having the case about. The judge struck it down. Also, the defense team of YNW said, hey, no, this is too much. And it's important to like argue those things for a defense attorney, because a lot of people who would be on a jury have never really been around death. And if you shock them to the point of now they're seeing blood that's been dried up for years, they're seeing bullets, like that's going to be a thing where they're going to say, I got to do something. If I'm the last resort to do something, I got to make sure this never happens again. So they fight, a defense attorney is going to fight for that not to be admitted. The defense attorney is fighting for you not to see the gruesome images of Lil Pop being dead. They don't want you to see the bullet through the head. They don't want you to see the bullet. Apparently there's a bullet through the heart. They don't want you to see the autopsy. They don't want you to see this guy lifeless and saying, damn, all that rapping about this and all that this and slide this and slide this. This is what sliding looks like. They don't want that. However, the judge actually allowed it in, and the government hit them with it early. You see, the government is throwing big punch. The government's coming out Mike Tyson. They're coming out like Mike Tyson. They're coming with the big punches early, and apparently they showed autopsy photos and apparently showed a bullet he had in his heart and his bicep. Check this out.
Man, we just saw some really horrific evidence in the Lil Durk murder case. I'm not going to lie to you. What the prosecution just showed sent chills down the spines of the jurors. I'm not going to lie to you. They played the 911 call of a woman that actually witnessed the murder of Lil Pab in Beverly Hills at the Beverly Center. Basically explained that, you know, it was a frantic 911 call. She said, oh my God, I can't believe it. Someone's shooting machine gun. Somebody's been hit. I'm in Beverly Hills. I can't believe this. And then they're saying, where are you? What's going on? What do they look like? She said, I don't want to be involved. I don't want to say anything. I don't want you to have my information. She was scared. These guys, whoever did this, struck fear into the residents and the visitors of Beverly Hills outside the Beverly Center. That was harrowing on its own. They then played unseen video footage of the murder of Lil Pab. Straight up 2 camera angles, one that we've never seen before. One of them was straight up 4K, crystal clear. You could damn near see the sweat dripping from their heads to down their eyes in front of the ski masks. It was so clear what was going on. It was over in 2 seconds. Like the doors open, somebody's pumping gas. They basically pop out from the alleyway from the car, all start shooting, shoot off the switches, automatic gunfire. There's no audio, but obviously we know it's automatic gunfire. And then very, very tragically, everyone just jumps in the car, dips off and slides away. They haven't shown the TMZ clip of Quando screaming no, but they went even further. They showed the body cam footage of the person that pulled Lil Pab's body out of the car.
Wow.
And it was just horrific. He's in the car.
That's gruesome.
You can hear him sort of taking his last dying breaths and moaning. It's really, really tragic. I'm so sad that Pab's family had to see.
I ain't gonna lie. By the way, Pab's family's there. Somebody going to jail. I ain't gonna cap with you. When the jury sees that, somebody's going to jail.
That they were in the courtroom and they were distraught over seeing this. That was then accompanied, obviously, the body cam footage picked up that moment of Quando screaming no from a different perspective. It was just so much more chilling to see what Pab was going through, what was going on inside that car. We even saw the images of them at the Bathing Ape store before. They actually told us what hotel that they were staying at before it all went down. It was crazy. But even more tragic, then they had the medical examiner up there on the stand basically showing the autopsy. It was just one autopsy photo, but it basically confirmed that Lil Pab was actually found with a bullet in his heart. He had had punctured lung, it punctured his heart. He also had a bullet that was lodged in his bicep and another bullet that went through his bicep that came out the other side. It was just really, really horrific stuff. And interestingly, there was no cross-examination from the defense. The 911 call was played.
Wow. So it says the government is swinging for the knockout first day. It's impossible to really have a good cross defense of what the medical examiner is saying. Usually you cross-examine the what the examiner is saying when you could be like, well, you know, did they have underlying medical factors that could have affected their death? Okay, how many calibers of, bullets was he hit with? Does it actually match up with the amount of shooters that might have been? Like, just try to create some doubt when it looked like the prosecutors is swinging like knockout shit at Durk, and Durk's lawyer said, yeah, let's just move on. Let's just move on. We're not going to say, we're not going to counter the point about did he die? We know he died. We're not also going to count, because the medical examiners are going to come with, well, it appeared that the caliber of bullets that caused the punctured lung, that caused through the bicep, that was found in the heart, were a 5.56, was a 2.23, was a 9mm, was a 40 cal. Like, it appears that Durk's team says, we're not going to contest that one, which is interesting. The first government witness, supposedly is a medical examiner. Well, I don't know if it's the first, but it's the first one that we've heard these guys mention. Durk's team says, let's move on. Let's move on. They're showing videos of the guy with bullet in his heart. Let's move on.
And the call operator.
All right. Is he a lost cause? Is he a lost cause, y'all? Okay. Let me throw up Attorney Jasmine. I think she just made something an hour ago. By the way, if anyone's in court that has updates, please let me know. We're down to watch anyone. There's a guy, his name's like Do Not or something. I'm not too sure what his name is. I'm not disrespecting him. I just don't know his name. But he did do an update. I seen it on my feed earlier. I would like to play his stuff, but just remind me what his name is.
Thursday, Durk's judge, Judge Fitzgerald, told the jurors that all the defendants had pled guilty, and only after...
Oh, no, okay. So she's talking about a Freudian slip that happened on Thursday. Okay. If she does give us another update, I'm guessing she's there. By the way, she acknowledged that we shouted her out. Shout to you, Attorney Jasmine. We appreciate anybody who's on the ground. Okay, we do appreciate you a lot.
On Thursday, Durk's judge...
Okay. If you're new to how we cover the trial, we get all the latest updates, but then we kind of systematically use what's being presented in court to connect to things that happened in the past, and also probably what's being shown in court if we have those particular videos or whatever the case is. So we'll get to it in a minute. Let's see. Here we go. Oh, it appears that Lawyer for Workers is he's correcting Traplo Ross, because Traplo Ross basically tweeted Durk just blamed everything on Vonnie. What the fuck? And I think he's doing a little bit of correcting. Remember, your Lawyer for Workers is going to slant towards the defendant. He's more, I don't know if he's officially a criminal defense attorney at this point, but he usually takes the side of whoever is being accused, because I think that's just in his profession, okay?
So this headline and this tweet from Ross, I got to talk to Ross. This is not a story. Durk did not just blame everything on Vonnie. What the fuck? Vonnie got picked up by cops, admitted to everything, admitted to getting the cars, arranging the flights, admitted to getting the guns, buying the...
Okay, I like what he's saying too. He's basically saying Durk didn't just randomly blame it on Vonnie. Vonnie admitted to the cops all these things is true. However, Durk is the one who told me to do it. So Vonnie admitted all his role. He just brought in Durk. And Durk is saying, no, if this guy told y'all he did it, why the fuck are y'all bringing me into it? The evidence kind of supports that he did it. So let's leave it at he did it and leave me out the group chat.
Ski mask, admitted to getting Sprinter vans and taking everybody around. And then he said, I did all of it while facing life in prison. I did all of it because Durk Banks paid me to do it. And now Durk Banks is in court saying, I don't know what the hell he's talking about. And to put out a headline that says, oh, Durk just blamed everything on Vonnie, what the fuck? No. Putting that out, what the fuck? So this headline and this tweet from...
Okay, all right. Let's play another video. Here we go.
Lil Durk trial. The opening statements are done. 4 government witnesses have testified. Let's get you caught up on everything you need to know.
Wait. Whoa, what do you mean 4 government witnesses? They already testified?
No. So the government went out, they laid out their case, the motive, the beef between Quando and Lil Durk's camp, this concept that Durk is the leader, OTF is a gang, they're involved in killings. They laid out the text messages, the music videos, that the cooperator is going to explain exactly what Durk's role in all of this was. I thought the strongest thing the prosecution did is they laid out the timeline that predates this August 19, 2022 shooting at Quando Rondo, and that in fact there were prior shootings, and all of it kind of really lends to itself to building the story that these two camps hated each other and they were going after one another, as I'll discuss in
Now, that's going to be so interesting when they get to those messages. Remember, there was a conversation about Quando's team hitting up Durk saying, hey, listen, we want to squash this beef. Let's dead it. And essentially, Durk says, man, nah, it's all good, man. Just go do a show. Right? So supposedly Durk tells Quando, nah, bro, we ain't got to talk about it. Just do a show, bro. Just do your thing, bro. You could do a show. So Durk's response was more like, oh, you're scared to do a show. Bro, it's fine. Like, I ain't tripping. You could keep doing shows. And then the first show that Quando does, nobody shows up. Quando gives a speech at the show saying, I know what, blah, 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 da-da-da, I'm also getting blackballed, da-da-da-da. And then when he's leaving the show, he goes to a gas station and 100 bullets rain out. Okay? So, I'm going to keep this. Yeah, see, wasn't that many people there. Bro. Yeah, it was pretty empty. Now, he also did say at the concert, he said, yo, I don't care if there's 10 people in here. I'll act like it's 10,000. Okay, here we go. Oh, I do have a video about it.
That shit crazy as fuck. Y'all, it's got...
Yo, I kid you not, old Akademiks is the GOAT. I don't know about this new Akademiks, but old Akademiks, there's a video of me doing everything. Huh? Okay, so yeah, this is 5 years ago. Here we go.
Quando.
So this is when he was leaving the show and the gas station got shot up.
It is, because I had went to the other Circle K, and they were like, everybody kept talking about the shots that they heard, so evidently what the niggas hit them with was some big shit, because niggas were way down the road, and they were like, shit, we heard the shots. I said, how the fuck y'all heard the shots way down here? They were like, hey, whatever them niggas had was big shit.
Let's check it out now. God damn it, man. Remember when... Okay, all right, let's go. Talk to the people in the crowd. He said, yo, thank you for showing up, whatever. Then he dipped. Now, listen, if you... Wait, I didn't play the video? Some people say doesn't hit. Third time where he only pray for people. Man, third time he's been... And they said that was the third time he got shot at. All right, I want to try to hear Quando Rondo...
In a moment, the defense had a good response to that, which is drawing this division between OTF Vonni and Durk Banks and putting all the prior attempts that the prosecution spent a lot of time planning in the jury's head on OTF Vonni. I thought that the defense's opening was a lot stronger. They had the great quote, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, if you're trying to follow the money in this murder for hire trial, you will not be able to, because this is a murder for hire where nobody got paid. Durk Banks' lawyers, and it was Marissa Goldberg, not Drew Finling, who did the opening statement in the...
Now I got to pause it here. Under the murder for hire statutes, even though on face value it sounds murder for hire, how could you get hired if you don't get paid? Payment is not required. An agreement of possible compensation is required. So if you finesse your shooter, it's still murder for hire.
This case, and I thought that made a lot of sense. Most of the jury is women, a lot of white women. Marissa Goldberg is a white woman who is cold as ice, stone cold serious. Not the type of showman Drew Finling is. There's a time and a place for the showmanship. But when you open up in a case where the jury's going to see the autopsy videos of a young man with bullet holes riddled all over his body, you need a very, very serious tone. That's the exact tone Durk Banks' attorney struck. I thought she gave a tremendous opening. I thought most of her opening was built on directly rebutting everything that the prosecution had just showed. So this concept of cooperators, she pointed out, hey, look, these are admitted murderers who are going to get convicted and sent to life, and the only way they can get out is to use Durk Banks as an insurance policy, somebody to pin the blame on. She talked about the first cooperator, OTF Jam. A lot has been said. She labeled him a quote-unquote massive cooperator who gave over 30 interviews to law enforcement in the very short time. He had spent 12 years in prison. He got out. He's only out for about a year.
Okay, now, you see, this is why we got to go to different sources. So we now hear from Law for Workers. Sorry. It's not that Jam cooperated on 30 different cases. He gave 30 different interviews. So it could have been 15 for the same case.
He's already talked and started trying to give up information 30 different times to police. Some of the times he knew nothing about Durk. Later, when charges and cooperation were on the table, he all of a sudden had all the goods about Durk. There was also a lot of talk about OTF Vonni. OTF Vonni, one of the cooperators, Durk's lawyers pinned him as the real ringleader, that Durk's not a ringleader. They said, look, if you look at the evidence, you're going to see Durk tells people to do things. They're not doing what Durk says. They're stealing from Durk. They're talking shit about Durk. Durk is his own little world, doing celebrity entertainment things. He's got a lot of stuff going on. It was OTF Vonni who not only this murder, Lil Durk trial, the opening.
Okay, let's keep it going. There's another video.
Things. He's got a lot of stuff going on. It was OTF Vonni who not only this murder that he orchestrated, not only did he get the rental cars, the guns, the ski masks, arrange everybody to be there, pick them up, take them to the scene. This wasn't the first time he did all that. He has a modus operandi, and he has done this before in an attempt to get at Quando Rondo, including in Georgia, including other occasions. And so the case is really going to boil down, as it always was, the cooperators versus Durk. There's some evidence in there, but a lot of it is explainable. For example, there was that text message. Durk says, hey, don't book no flights under my name. His lawyers pointed out that when you look at the evidence, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, that text clearly had nothing to do with this murder, and what Durk was talking about was a completely different event. And oh, by the way, the guy Vonni did end up booking the flights using a credit card connected to OTF. So to the extent Durk, as the ringleader, is giving instructions to people, they're not following them. Ultimately, where's this case going? This case is wide open.
Okay, that's a good flip. Well, if Durk told him don't book anything and these guys are not listening, how is Durk the mastermind?
The prosecution presented a narrative. The defense presented a narrative. The narratives do not matter. What matters is the evidence. I don't give a shit what you guys think you heard in music songs. I don't care what you think you saw on the internet. The jury is not going to hear any of that narrative. The jury is going to hear evidence from witnesses on the stand. I will say, I think the biggest problem you're facing if you're Durk Banks' defense team is trying to present a picture to the jury without them getting thrown off by the co-defendant's defense team, because there's actually 3 defendants in this case, not just one. And the 3 defendants, they tried to sever the charges and have only a single defendant. However, that didn't work out. And so now you have 3 defendants, and their stories kind of complicate things, and they don't make a lot of sense. For example, one of the guys, OTF Didi, he said, and both the co-defendants said, hey, we never agreed to a murder. We didn't even know there was going to be a murder. Okay, well, why are you there? Didi said he's there because he heard the OTF was going to be there, and he's found that it's a good idea to be around. You might be able, he had a music career. He was a budding aspiring rap artist, and so he likes to be around and try to get some studio time, try to get into a music video. The other guy, his lawyer went up there and said, hey, he also didn't know anything. He didn't agree to anything. Why was he there? The other guy didn't explain why he was there. He just said, oh, well, he was there. He never kind of explained that. And so it's an interesting case because you have this celebrity superstar powerhouse legal team that's defending the case. And not only do they have to defend the case against the prosecution, but they have to deal with the co-defendants' cases, which all of them kind of are telling slightly different stories while they're all trying to throw a perfect pitch down the middle to proclaim their innocence. This trial will continue. In my next post, I will explain to you some more of the details that came out in the opening, as well as the first 4 government witnesses. Stay tuned.
Okay. All right. It's going down, y'all. It's going down. All right. So it appears that they're rolling out witnesses. The government isn't trying to slow cook Durk. They're trying to immediately jump with the BS. Somebody says, check whose Twitter? Check whose Twitter? This is day one for the trial. Yes. Young who? Y'all literally just told me who's who should I check their Twitter, please? You Vect Mel? You Vect Mel? Who's that? Don't know who that is. Oh, okay. All right, we got somebody here. Okay, good. So we got some updates here. Let's see if it says at the courthouse to account to earlier than usual to account for all the people. To account, okay. At the courthouse earlier than usual to account for all the people expected to attend day one of the federal trial. Last week, the judge said that the courtroom is larger than the one in the hearings have been in, so I expect many of us to get in. It says all three men pled guilty and will testify. Okay, so just like what I said, they pled guilty. Obviously, we can't find their case. We cannot find their case because it's all sealed. Okay, they got severed. Not only did they get severed in the form of a superseding indictment, they got severed and they got new indictments under seal that they pled guilty to. So essentially, you can't do a YSL Woody. They got you by the balls. They have a guilty plea that carries life. Government opening statements. This is a story of revenge. This isn't about music. It's about murder. They detail King Von's death and Durk's alleged determination for revenge. There's a presentation that included pictures, text messages, etc. We're on lunch. The confirmed cooperants are going to be OTF Jam, Kavon Grant, and Keith Williams. Okay? They also lock our phones away, and if you unlock it, you may not be able to get back in. Okay? At the court, okay, what else? All right. I think, do we got everything? Do we got everything? Okay, give me 1 second. I'm dealing with a lot of info here. I'm trying to make sure I get it to you in the best way. By the way, ironically, some of the feds' videos that they had for the death of Von is now coming out. So when Von got killed by Lil Tim, ironically, they brought both of them to the same hospital. They claimed that Von, despite what was being heard in the past, there was this folklore rumor that when Von woke up in the hospital, he said, "Where my gun at?" And obviously builds onto this lore that Von is just this big demon. Apparently, they claim that was not the case. When Von was brought to the hospital, he was already dead on arrival. Lil Tim was brought there. He was shot. It actually showcases Lil Tim getting arrested, or not arrested, but they handcuff him to the bed. All right? Lil Tim, hospital. That video, I believe, is new. Let me see if we can find it. Here we go. This is new footage of King Von rushed into surgery. And again, if you're wondering how does this play a part, I just came here to watch. How does this play a part in the trial of Durk? You got to remember, the entire government disposition is that Von dying made Durk feel like he had to get revenge on the guys who did the murder. And yes, that included Lil Tim, but it absolutely included Quando Rondo, the person he was fighting with before he got shot by Lil Tim. So this is when Lil Tim got sent to the hospital. Remember, he just killed Von, and he was lucky enough not to get executed. I think it was either Muwap or someone else tried to execute him and the gun jammed. And he was shot and he collapsed, but he was just laying there. The police at that point interrupted. People left. They tried to bring Von to the hospital. Von died in the car, supposedly. And now the police brings Quando Rondo, which, by the way, not Quando Rondo, sorry. Lil Tim, which, by the way, it might have been a blessing. I know it's going to sound crazy. It might have been a blessing he was shot, because some of Durk's homies that then pulled out their guns and started shooting, there was some cops that was around the corner. They don't know what's going on. Their job is just to neutralize anybody with a gun. They end up shooting one of Durk's guys in the head. They shot him in the head. The guy subsequently died like years later. But you guys know, you know who I'm talking about. He got shot in the head. If Lil Tim was still actively with the gun and no one shot him, the cops could have just skulled him. And by the way, he could have got skulled and killed by Durk's, not Durk, but by Von's people too. So he's really lucky. Okay, yes, OTF Louis got shot by the cops, supposedly, because he had a weapon in his hand. That's supposedly according to the story. Anyway, this is when Lil Tim gets brought to the hospital. Let's kind of hear this.
Shit on you, but I gotta cuff you to the bed.
Now, this right here is the body of King Von that has been transported to the same hospital and has been rushed through the hallways for them to try life-saving measures, but apparently he didn't have a pulse before he got to the hospital.
You got, y'all got one, the one for the rehab. Gentleman in here deceased. Okay.
So they said the gentleman here is deceased. They're actually talking about King Von. Mr. King Von. Okay, before we get to that, again, we are going to play it. Let me play this really quickly. I found the gentleman that's outside. His name is Donut, or Dunnit. This is what he is presenting as part of, his report. And he's there. He's at the courthouse as well. Let's hear what he got to say.
What's up? It's your boy Donat. I'm here.
Okay, Donat. Sorry.
At the federal court building in downtown LA for day 3 of Lil Durk trial. Today we're going to hear opening arguments from
Okay, so that's in the morning. And then he goes with, he said it's limited. And then, okay, he says Durk was set up. Let's hear his opinion.
What's up? It's your boy Donat here on day 3 of the Lil Durk trial. The defensive strategy is to say that Vonnie, who happens to be King Von's cousin, set up Lil Durk by using his credit card and making it look like there was an unalivement for hire.
So Durk's team is going with Durk is framed. Interesting.
They also are pointing that Vonnie might have been, jealous or felt some type of way by the OTF family and Lil Durk using King Von's death to sell music and so forth. And also explosive. According to the defense, Jam actually met with the feds over 30 times, and only 3 of those times are recorded. He's expected to testify. Now, Brown Eyes has already pled guilty to the unalivement. He has not been sentenced, and I feel like Brown Eyes might actually be the defense's rebuttal witness to discredit Jam and others that are pointing fingers at Lil Durk.
Wait, so Brown Eyes pled guilty. Is he trying to take the rap? Interesting. All right, let's keep going.
What's up? It's your boy Donat. Day 3 at the Lil Durk trial. There was a very heavy moment just happened. We saw the officer's body camera footage of Lou Pob taking his last breath in Quando Rondo, screaming and yelling no. Then a doctor came to testify and showed images of Lou Pob's injuries. 3 gunshot wounds to his left arm, and a gunshot wound where the bullet entered and lodged into his heart. Gun violence is not the answer, y'all. Be safe out there.
Okay. Another update.
What's up? It's your boy Donat. I have an update for day 3 of the Lil Durk trial. Listen, there's some misinformation going on right now. I know you guys are down with that rat lantern talk, but it was not Vonnie who cooperated and talked to the feds 30 times. It was OTF Jam. Now, Vonnie did talk to the feds, according to what I heard, twice. And on the second time, he was telling the feds whose cards were used to book these rooms and so forth.
Now, apparently, OTF Jam was a volunteered snitch. When he was arrested, apparently, he wrote a note, a handwritten note, and he told the police that he was aware of a larger scheme and more murders, and he could, if possible, he could help himself by giving up information. But there's a handwritten note that got admitted. So it is going to be as evidence on the exhibit. And with that all comes from this particular note.
Which leads me to believe that Vonnie conspired against Durk. I mean, Durk hired him, and he's from Atlanta, Georgia. Durk is from Chicago, an outsider. There's different gang politics happening in Atlanta, Georgia, and Durk was just the fall guy. But enough about that. Let's get back to OTF Jam cooperating with the feds 30 times. You want to know why he cooperated with the feds 30 times? Because he actually is one of the 3 men that hopped out the car and was shooting at Quando Rondo and Lou Pab. That has just been revealed. I know he hasn't been publicly indicted and all this other stuff.
He's indicted and he pled guilty.
Because he's in that U program, which requires full cooperation.
Okay, all right. Mr. Donat has a little bit wrong here in his understanding of the Fed case. This U program that, you know, we've heard publicized where people talk about Shea, who is 21 Savage, a U visa that supposedly requires cooperation has nothing to do with this. This is for a 5K1 letter. So when you plead guilty to a crime, the only way you could go under the sentencing minimum is having a 5K1 letter, or after sentencing. So before sentencing, it's called 5K1 letter. After sentencing, which people accuse Big Meech of doing, which is, say they gave you life, you could come back and say, I know where 10 bodies are buried, but I need my sentence shortened. You work out a deal. They give you, well, not give you, but they use what's called a Rule 35. And that Rule 35 is a resentencing. And the resentencing could go below your mandatory minimum because now you have provided substantial evidence to an ongoing investigation, or somehow help the detectives, or the federal agents, in figuring something out, and they could go below those sentencing guidelines. So you get resentenced. But those are the only two ways. This U program, there is no U program other than if you were shot. If you were shot or you're a victim of a crime. Let me tell you what the U visa program is, and that actually is meant for non-citizens. So if you are a victim of a crime and you aren't a citizen of the United States, you get what's called a U visa as long as you have provided, to the best of your knowledge, the information to help the investigation go on. Which means if they said, who shot you? If you don't know them niggas, you better tell what they were wearing. You got to tell whatever they want you to do. Okay? But that's how you get in the U visa program. So he's mistaken that a little bit. But, you know, he's obviously in court, so you got to trust what he hears, maybe not exactly fully what he knows.
To keep his case from being filed and him being indicted, even though I believe it's going to happen.
Again, I keep telling you, Jam has already been indicted. Not because you can't find the case, doesn't mean he is. This is how they get people in federal court. He's indicted, it's all sealed. You can't find it, and we're going to see that later time, and I'll bet any money on it, is going to say he pled guilty 6 months ago or longer. It was done all under seal. Remember, the next step for Vonni is going to be him getting sentenced, which means he already pled guilty. And at sentencing, he's doing the snitching to get what's called a 5K1 letter. And the 5K1 letter, when submitted by the government, will allow the judge to go beyond the sentencing guidelines, which he would be facing life. So he pled guilty to get life. That's auto life. But because of his snitching, no prior criminal background, and because he's going to do an A1 job on the stand, and they realize he's not the ultimate target, and maybe he could like BS to say, hey, I was just playing my part. I wasn't the guy who ordered it. He could get about 5 to 7 years. Okay?
But that's why he hasn't been mentioned. So he's one of the 3 guys that was doing the shooting. What's up? It's your boy.
Okay. There we go. So let's get back to this video where we're seeing King Von being rushed into surgery. Apparently he was dead on arrival, and Lil Tim getting arrested in the hospital. This is after November 6, 2020, where there was an incident outside of a hookah lounge where King Von and Quando Rondo got into a fight. There was a damn near all-out brawl. Lil Tim hopped out of the car with a weapon and shot King Von several times, point-blank range. And, yeah, the rest is history.
Now, shout out to Collab. I can't even pronounce the name, so pardon me, but the platform that usually gets all the drill body cam videos first. Here we have the body cam footage of Little Tim in the hospital. You guys could couch. Now, this is why I say their entourages had to cross paths. I'm pretty sure they were in the lobby or something waiting to hear what's going on with Vaughn, and Little Tim had to come in shortly after, being that he was struck 3 times. But let's get into the body cam footage of Little Tim as he was arrested while laying in the hospital bed. Y'all check this out.
Okay, so
boy was in there.
This is the next day then. Remember, this happened like at very late in the night, 3, 4 a.m.
Chilling, huh? Look at his face.
Okay, with all due respect, I want to hear the officers speak. So,